Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co, and today I'm looking at my most overdue crowdfunding campaigns. This is a yearly video series that I've started doing, well, 2 years ago. I did it 2 years ago, there are a bunch of late campaigns, and now I'm doing it again, or I did it last year, there are a bunch of late campaigns, and now I'm doing it again, and there are still a bunch of late campaigns. More specifically, last year's video, which was in March 2023, the specific criteria, which are the same criteria that I have for this video, is it has to be a game that is not just late, but more specifically, it is at least a year late, which effectively means it's been like 2 years since I backed it for the most part, because most campaigns project delivery at least a year out. So if there's a campaign that I backed in March of 2022 and they said, hey, it's going to deliver in March of 2023, and here we are in March of 2024 and it's still not here, well, that's the criteria for it to be included on this list. Now, we are going to go through a bunch of new campaigns. We're actually going to start off. I actually think we're in slightly better shape than we were last year. It depends on how you look at it. Last year, I had 16 campaigns that were at least a year overdue. 16 campaigns. From those 16, 2, I have given up the hope of ever seeing those 2 again. That would specifically be Hell and Rallyman Dirt. Both of those I just don't imagine I'll see, although Hell is a little bit more complicated because I may see it from Command in a slightly reformatted version. We'll see. Time will tell on how that's going to play out. And Rallyman Dirt, I think I'm technically waiting for an email from the liquidators from whoever they were, but I never really heard from them. I think the US has not really heard from them, so I'm currently dealing with my retail copy, which was actually given to me by a viewer, which I really appreciate. Thank you for that. But yeah, those 2 games, so we'll see how those manifest, but those 2 I'm going to mark off. From the remaining 14, 7 of them already delivered, or already might be a stretch. 7 of them did deliver since that last video, so I have them. I have 7 more games than I had, well, I have more than 7 more games than I had last year, but I got 7 of those 14 additional delayed games, and the other 7 are unfortunately still in this video. But today we are going to have 15 games to go over for you. 7 that were already present from last year and are just however late they were last year, they are a year later today. And then the other 8 are going to be 8 new campaigns, and new still being a relative term, but campaigns that are at least a year overdue. And to start us off, let's start off by going through a quick recap of the games that were already a year overdue and seeing where they are. So again, these first 7, we're going to go through them a little quicker. They're games that are late. They're late. That's what I would say about them. We have Tranquility Ascent. First of all, Tranquility Ascent over here from Board Game Hub. This is an interesting one because it is overdue. Oh, and before I start the video, I should say, in general, the goal of this video is I think it's interesting to see the games that are this overdue, how they're doing, see what's going on with things, but this is not meant to send you towards any creators with any hate or frustration or this or that. I think creators deal with delays in different ways, and I think there are campaigns that are very, very late, and I think they communicate great and they do a great job, and I'm very understanding those campaigns. I think there are campaigns that don't communicate nearly as much, and those are a lot more frustrating for, well, all the backers involved who spent money on something and have no idea what's actually happening with that thing. I think not all late campaigns are created equal, and ultimately, again, regardless of what it is, this is not meant to be a video trying to send you towards any creator. Treat people with the respect you'd want to be treated, even if they did something that isn't great. I'm not saying don't demand your due, but there's a way to demand your due, and just be mindful and all that stuff. But like I said, Tranquility Ascent. Tranquility Ascent is an interesting one because this one is actually picked up by Lucky Duck Games. This one became pretty clear eventually that it was not going to deliver. Again, this is my video last year. It was originally expecting a March 2022 delivery date, which means this is 2 years overdue. And this was picked up by Lucky Duck Games, and it's one that is going to be coming in some way, shape, or form at some point. Lucky Duck took over the project. They're going to be taking over Tranquility Ascent. They're going to be giving you a copy to all existing backers, slightly changed from what you may have backed in the original campaign. They can't always do. Again, when a company steps in and takes over someone else's debt, they can't always give you everything, and that's understandable. They're already doing you a favor to an extent. Even though it sucks, your anger should not be directed at the people who take over a project. It should be directed at the people who did not deliver the project. And again, directed is a wrong term. I don't want to send angry people towards campaigns. But anyways, yeah, that's going to be Tranquility Ascent over here. Already a year due as of last video, and still another year going. We have Primal the Awakening, which I cannot believe is still here. I thought it was going to be delivering last year. I could have sworn to be delivering at that point. It is finally delivering. It was supposed to be delivered in February of 2021, so we're looking at 25 months overdue at this point. To be fair, to give credit to them, it actually has finally started delivering. It just, oh my gosh, there should be another one on this list. There should be another one, arguably, but it's technically delivering 2. We should also have 7th Citadel on this list as a technical new addition, because both 7th Citadel and Primal are in an interesting spot where people are getting their copies as we speak, and it's very possible that I'll have my copy by the time this video goes up. It's that kind of like delay over here where it literally might show up at any point now. But Primal the Awakening, I've been waiting for it for a very long time. I'm very excited for it to show up, and this is a game that people are finally starting to get, as well as 7th Citadel, so they're both games that are very overdue, but also technically arriving soon, so we'll see. We have Stormsunder, Heirs of Rune. This is one that I don't have the best feelings about. This is supposed to be delivered in March of 2022, which means at this point, we're 2 years overdue. Not just 2 years from the crowdfunding campaign, but 2 years late from when it was supposed to be delivered. We're 2 years out on Stormsunder, Heirs of Rune. And this is one that Lazy Squire Games, like, I like Lazy Squire Games. I like Wild Ascent a lot, their previous game. They are clearly in a place where, again, like, you just can't trust their timelines. You can't. I like that. I like the people behind the project. I think their humor's there. I hope they deliver. I hope this isn't vaporware. I hope this actually does show up, and I think it will. If I have to make a guess, I think both Stormsunder and Wild Ascent Lavon Rising will show up. But it's just a guess. I would caution anyone against backing these unless they're comfortable with the fact that the money may never actually result in a game. It might not. I mean, that's always the case, but there's times where things are more riskier and less riskier, and this is definitely in the more riskier category. But Stormsunder, Heirs of Rune, waiting on this one. It's been quite some time, and it might be here next year. I genuinely don't know. Then we have Chai Tifa 2. This is another one that goes in the possibly forever category. At this point, I don't know what the story is. Steeped Games does seem to be alive. They fall into a weird place for me where, I mean, they show up at conventions on a regular basis and act like everything's all hunky-dory, business as usual. And it's weird because, to a certain extent, life has to carry on. Business has to carry on. But, like, I wish there was more transparency around, well, anything and everything, because, like, I can support the idea that, hey, you have to be at a convention, you have to make money so you can continue to actually survive as a company and actually deliver on your responsibilities. I can get behind that if there were more direct communication about things like that, as opposed to just, like, you know, complete ghosting of your audience until eventually it's time for convention season and you're like, hey, here's a quick update, and then you go out and show up at conventions to sell your stuff and hopefully not get that much hate. And I don't think they should get hate. It's a weird thing, like, when I pass by Steep Games at a convention at this point, I just ignore them. I ignore their booth. I don't want to have anything to do with. For me, it's interesting because to me it's not just that I'm a backer. It's that I cover their game. I got people to back their game, and that's always trickier for me because I don't like that. I don't want to work with a company that I put my name out there and then they turn around and ghost their audience. So it's tricky, it's messed up. I still don't encourage any hate or whatever. I still don't encourage any of that at all. I just walk on, move on, live my life, and continue to talk about every single year how Chai Tifa 2 is not yet here. But it's late. It's late. Anyways, we have USS Freedom. It's supposed to be delivered in December 2021. This is one where they actually do have good ongoing communication. But also, good ongoing communication might only take you so far. I am curious to see what's going to happen with this one. I don't know. We'll find out. Will it deliver one day? I don't know. There were lots of reworks. They had plans for a miniatures campaign. I don't know what's going to happen or not. It's just that they do continuously update. So there is that. Give credit to them for that fact. But whether or not we ever see it is going to be a different conversation entirely. Then we have over here, we have Freedom 5, Sentinel Comics modern board game, supposed to be delivered in November of 2021, putting this fairly overdue. But again, this is a good example where the creator, or Arcane Wonders, they communicate on this one on a regular, ongoing basis. There are frequent updates. I have so little resentment about this project. This is one where it's just like, hey, it's late, that is what it is, but they update, they communicate, they are constantly there, and also from it's an established company, and one that I think this one is a safe bet from everything else on the table. I guess Primal's clearly a safe bet, but I think that Freedom 5 over here, I think is completely going to arrive. I'm not worried about it at all, and there is clear and consistent communication, which is all I really care about, or most of what I care about. And then we have Monumental Reprint. Again, one that they have been communicating fairly decently. This is one, it's a tricky one. Funforge kind of basically, and this is it's more of a middle ground communication, but Funforge basically stated one day, hey, you know, crowdfunding's not for us, and it's been a rocky road, and it's not really working out, so we're moving away from crowdfunding, and we're going back to retail, and some of our campaigns are going to be delayed, but we will continue to deliver everything eventually. And they have been doing that for the most part. It seems like that commitment is present, just eventually is a very open-ended term. And I do think that this is one that will show up one day. I mean, the current date was supposed to be April of 2021. I backed this one reluctantly. I still have Monumental, and I'm excited for when it does eventually show up. And they, to their credit, again, they haven't asked for any more money. Freedom 5, Monumental, they have not asked their backers for more money, even as many campaigns have done stuff like that. I think this game will show up. I'm fairly confident in it, and their communication has been pretty good. Not as good as Arcane Wonders, but they have communicated over there. They usually drop a communication update once in a while and then kind of just walk away. They don't really engage with all the questions or the comments around it. It is what it is to a certain extent, and I understand that. There's only so much you can say when you have a crowd of angry people about it, and at least they are continuously coming back to the page and communicating. So more of a middle score as far as the communication goes, but hey, I'll be happy when it shows up. I'll do a giant unboxing of all those giant monumental thingy-majiggies they had. The game has some of the best miniatures I've ever seen and has some solid gameplay. Monumental is a game worth checking out. It's just, you know, I understand if there's bad taste associated with it. And those are the 7 campaigns that were already in last year's video. And before we dive into the 8 new campaigns that are going through this video, we have a quick word from our sponsor, WSBG. The World Series of Board Gaming is going to be once again in Vegas. It's going to be hosted, it's going to be held September 22nd to 26th, 2024 in Vegas at the Bally's Hotel or the Horseshoe Hotel. They renamed all that. But WSBG is basically the competition to determine the World Series of Board Gaming winner. The person who is the best board gamer in the world. This is going to be their 3rd year so far, and every year has been absolutely amazing. Every year has been great in terms of not just the competition, the fact that this is a very unique convention compared to your standard convention, but rather because of the fact that it also has playing games. It has the Dice Tower West library. It has fun and ambience and people there who are all having a good time and engaged, and it just feels like a very small collective crew of people who are here for a very unique competition as people try to go ahead and compete. And we're going to have 16 games over here. We're going to have Wingspan, Great Western Trail, Ticket to Ride, Heat Pedal to Metal, Lost Winds of Arnak, Brass Birmingham, Arc Nova, Earth, Dune Imperium, Acquire Azul, Splendor, Cascadia, The Castle of Burgundy, and Terraforming Mars 2024. I don't know why they have the specific 2024 there. We're going to have all of those titles showing up to be played. If you're interested in diving into any of those, if you think you can compete in any of those, I'll be competing in Castle of Burgundy. If you want to go ahead and face off against me, well, first of all, hope that I make it to the next round, because otherwise you only have a 1 in 3 chance of actually facing off against me. But even then, we'll see. This is a phenomenal convention that is very unique in what it does, and it's very different in terms of the board game space, but it's one that I definitely encourage you to check out. And if you are interested in going, make sure to use coupon code IMIN, that's capital I, AM lowercase in IN capital, so I am in with the capital IN at the end, lowercase AM. I'll include it down below. It's so complicated to actually go ahead and track, but the World Series of Board Gaming, highly recommend checking this out. It's a great time to be had. And moving on to the new campaigns over here. And I'll say off the bat that 2 of these already go into the I don't expect to see them range, but we'll talk about them anyway. And starting off, we have 6 Siege. 6 Siege over here, and again, we have 8 campaigns to go through, and my mouse is not scrolling. There we go. We have over here. We have June 2022, which one is supposed to be delivered over here. 6 Siege has sort of started delivering. It depends on who you are. It depends on where it is. It started delivering. This is one I actually am expecting to get a copy from. I just don't know if I'm getting it from Mythic Games directly. We'll see how that one plays out. But this is one that is late and overdue, and again, people will see this one. I just don't know if I'll ever see it from them. I'm getting a copy elsewhere. We'll talk more about that when that eventually does show up. But either way, 6 Siege is the board game from Mythic Games. They have their outstanding campaigns. Some of their campaigns have been taken over by other companies, others not quite as much. And so the ones that are still outstanding will still be in these videos until they are definitely dead or definitely delivered. One of those 2 things. Anything in the midway range, I'll keep talking about it until it's like, you know, dead in the ground. But either way, this is one that, again, it's a great game. I highly recommend you check out the game if you have an opportunity. I don't know how you can even get your hands in it, practically speaking, but if you do see it on the secondhand market and you want it, I think it's a great game. And I do hope this game continues to see life outside of Mythic, because, well, even with Mythic, I mean, I can't see it. I can't see anything having life within Mythic. So I hope this game sees life outside of Mythic, because I think the developers, the designers, I think this is a great tactical skirmish game that is very unique and a good use of the IP in a board game that really manifested well. Highly encourage you checking this one out if you have the chance to do so in a way that doesn't involve you throwing your money down the drain. So that's kind of where we are with 6 Siege over here. Then we have Legends Academy from Eldorado Games. This was a great game. I hope this game delivers. I really does. And I think it will. Again, they have updates. It's not as freaky as you want. Eldorado Games also saw tricky financial waters. They kind of left the board game space effectively and are just kind of like, you know, going through the process of delivering this last game and seeing how that plays out. But this is one that at this point is expected to be delivered in, you know, September of 2022. And I had a lot of fun with this. I really enjoyed the sheer powers and abilities and the way the world's built. I still love the Age of Atlantis. I think it's fantastic. I think that Eldorado Games has done a solid job in the crowdfunding space. They unfortunately didn't make it through all the things that hit as far as COVID and freight prices and all those things. But I really hope Legend Academy delivers. I hope I'm not here next year saying how it's still not here, because selfishly I just want the game. This isn't even like a... I just want the game. I want the game because I think it's a great game, and I am looking forward to playing the final copy of Legend Academy. Then we have Velocity Vanguard. It's supposed to deliver in October of 2022, so it's actually not, even though it's a really old campaign, we're only a little bit past that, you know, year overdue aspect. Well, more than a little bit, but, you know, not crazy yet. But over here, Velocity Vanguard is a giant spacefaring adventure. It's a game that you're basically trying to navigate your craft through space, and you're doing so with your own unique element of how you navigate. The fact that you have a directional flow where you have to plan several turns in advance because your ship is going to continuously drift through space based on the way you have your little area of movement, and there's only so much control you have, you know. At any point when you say thrusters forward 2, you're still dealing with the residual effect that you were previously moving left, and you have to kind of coast around. It is a fascinating movement puzzle that's very unique, gives you solo, co-op, and competitive play, and it's very different. It's very different than anything you have in your collection, and it's incredibly well done. I'm excited to have this one deliver, or hopefully deliver, I should say. I do want this to show up. Anything this late is always a question mark, but I am very optimistic about Velocity Vanguard, and very excited for when it does deliver, if it does deliver, because it's a unique game that's different than anything else I have in my collection. And then we have Honeybuzz Fall Flavors. This is another one that falls into a weird space where, well, not weird space, but Honeybuzz Fall Flavors. Effectively, Elf Creek Games has run into some degree of hard times. They've been fairly transparent about that. They have had some hard issues. They've had some campaigns that didn't do as well as expected. They have licensed or sold off some of their IPs to, I believe, Goliath Games. And this one is supposed to be delivered in November 2022, and it's one that's a weird spot for me because Honeybuzz is a game that I like, but I think I'm ready to move on from the base game if it's just the base game alone. I've played it enough. I've seen the game play out. I think it's good, but I don't need to hold on to it. Versus Fall Flavors might add enough things that I'm more interested in the game. It might add enough to spark more interest back in the game. So I've been waiting for this expansion because I want to play Honeybuzz with the expansion. I am hopeful this does deliver at some point. We'll see how it goes. Again, I'm sympathetic to Elf Creek. I wish them well. It sucks. It really sucks. It's one of those things that it always is hard to navigate, because on the one hand, the company is often the one going through a whole lot more emotional stress than your missing game. Almost certainly. I guarantee you the people behind these companies that, well, not unless the company took your money and run, in which case I have no patience. But for the most part, these companies didn't want things to become difficult. They didn't want things to become delayed. They didn't want to fall into hard times. And they're having a harder time of it than you are. Almost guaranteed. On the other hand, they're the ones who owe you a commitment, or me a commitment for that matter. And so that is a tricky spot to navigate, because the greater sense of grief or hurt or pain or hardship is on the company. But the obligation really only flows one way, which is the company towards you. So it's both one of the situations in which I do think you should have great sympathy for the companies, but I'm also not asking anyone to ever give up their sense of what they're owed. You are owed something when you back something, when you buy something. You are owed that thing. Just try to claim that thing with grace and respect, as opposed to the less fun ways of doing so. Again, it's one of those things that's weird, but like death threats in the board game space over not getting your board games does happen, which is a little crazy, and I highly encourage you not to engage in death threats. No board game's worth it. It's also illegal, by the way. Moving on, we have a Monsterpocalypse board game. Another one that is in that giant question mark of whatever happened to Mythic Games, because Monsterpocalypse has not had any announcement over any companies taking this IP over. That partially could be because it's already engaged with private press. It could be, I don't know. I don't imagine this one shows up either. I imagine this is another one that November 2022 is supposed to deliver, so we're well past the year late. I imagine this will either be here next year or just here next year with an update as to why you should never expect to see it. I'm not optimistic with Monsterpocalypse. I'm not optimistic about anything that Mythic Games still holds the reins to, unfortunately. Moving on, we have Soul Raiders. This is supposed to be delivered in September 2022. We're a year past that, so a year and a half at this point. And Soul Raiders from One for All was a very interesting game. This is one that I don't need it to deliver. If it doesn't, like, I don't get me wrong. There's still a sense of I want it, of course, but it wasn't necessarily the best game I ever played. It was a very interesting choose-your-own-adventure game with some degree of resource management, but an interesting story, an interesting system as far as how you manage your cost of your actions as you move to location, as you try to explore the world in different ways. I thought it was very interesting, very innovative, kind of has a Seventh Continent kind of vibe in terms of that newness to the way you're going to explore a system, while being very different in how it actually manifests and plays out. I enjoyed my time with it. I enjoyed my time with Soul Raiders, the prototype I got to play. I'm curious when this one will eventually show up, but I am still optimistic and interested in Soul Raiders when it eventually does. And then we have Wild Ascent Lavon Rising. Again, like I said with Stormsunder before this, I am actually optimistic, and here I am like advertising the game for everyone who wants to go and get hands on it. I do love Lavon Rising. I do love Wild Ascent, and I think Lavon Rising was a better implementation of the system. I think they did a better job on an already good game, and so all of that is good. All that's great. All that's like, good reason to be excited about the game. But also, it was supposed to deliver in, what was it, December of 2022? I think December of 2022 was when this was supposed to deliver, or April of 2022 if you're just getting the basic stuff, and neither of those things manifested. Either way, you're well behind in this one, and so this is another one from Lazy Squire Games where I like the people, I like they do have constant communication, they do have updates, they do have witty, funny humor and all that stuff. All those things are great, and I still like them. I just don't spend your money on their stuff unless you're just being optimistic, because at this point their delays are still their delays. I wish they could turn things around faster. I wish they put out such good games. Wild Ascent and Stormsunder. I haven't played Stormsunder, but from what I've heard from King of Average, from people who played it, it's supposedly a really solid system, and between Wild Ascent and Stormsunder, that is two really solid systems that they've put out. If only they could deliver them on like a timeline which wasn't so skewed into the future. So, hope you see this one. I certainly want to see it. I definitely want to see all the new enhanced stuff for Lavon Rising. But I will say at this point, I'm certainly happy that I have not. Like, when Lavon Rising was on crowdfunding for the first time, there's a point where I was like, you know what? I should get rid of my pledge. I should get rid of my Wild Ascent because I'll eventually have all the new stuff coming. That was then. And now I'm kind of glad I haven't, because hopefully I see this stuff one day, but if I don't, at least I still have my game, and in the meantime, at least I can still play my game. And then lastly, we have Arydia, the Paths We Dare Tread. This is supposed to be another December of 2022 delivery, another one that is still, not yet here. This is going to be from Far Off Games, who brought you Zyre, Legends of a Drift System. And again, they've had frequent communication, they've had life updates, they've had, I'm not overly worried, and I'm not at all upset. They've had great communication, he has a loyal audience, a loyal base, and he's very clear about what's going on with this game. But this is one that is an excellent game. At least when I played it, was an excellent RPG, dungeon dive, story-based exploration. This is one of the better games that I've played that have the sheer degree of immersion going on as far as how you build out your characters, as far as how you explore the world. Everything in this game did incredibly well. And I'm very excited for when it shows up. I'm not in a rush, mind you. I have so many games, especially campaign games, that are taking my attention that I'm not in a rush. As long as the communication is consistent and it does eventually show up, I will patiently be waiting for one of the most ambitious and incredibly well done games that, well, existed. I think Arydia the Paths We Dare Tread is a game that will be worth waiting for when it does eventually show up. And that's what we have over here. That's the campaigns we have. We have 15 total campaigns to go over. 7 that were still from last year that are just further overdue. And then 8 new ones, which, as far as I'm concerned, that's a win. Because while it's true that I've been backing fewer games the past year or two, keep in mind, these are games that are supposed to be delivered a year ago. They're at least a year late, which means at this point, they're 2 years from when I backed it, which means that I still was backing games very heavily around this phase. But I think a lot of games have managed to not hit that complete, again, 2 years from when the campaign launched, or a year past their expected delivery. And so for the most part, I would say that this year is a win, despite having still some outstanding campaigns. I would say for the most part, it is still a relative win compared to how the year before did, which makes sense. COVID, shipping, freight delays, all that stuff. We did see a lot more delays, and this is more manageable. But I still do hope they show up. In any case, until next time, I'm Alex Radical from Board Game Co. I hope you enjoyed this video, and let me know what your most outstanding campaign is. That you still have any degree of hope will be delivered. If you know it's not coming, it doesn't count. I mean, at that point, it's just a failure. It's not late. In any case, until next time, I'm Alex Radical from Board Game Co. Hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, I hope you have a good one.